Alright, so let's go over this and try and figure out where we went wrong. First is the Sengir Connoisseur, starting with our lead creatures. So this guy, or gal, flyer, and I thought when other creatures were dying, I put a 1/1 counter on it, and it would only trigger once per turn, but it'd be helpful for building this up in the air and just being able to have its own lane to attack in on, and being bigger than probably anything else they would have in the air. This was a frequent target of removal, especially the broken wings. So this often got cycled out, and what I mean by that is sideboarded out I was doing aggressive sabotage in its place in order to just help with card advantage, because I felt like I was losing there. Similar story, but we had another creature, SHALAI'S, Acolyte. So this was 4 and a white, this angel, and it had kicker, and this was really nice. When I had one game where I put in Timeless Lotus. So yes, I pulled Timeless Lotus this draft. So that was my win for this draft. Even though I went 0-3 for the best of threes, I did get to pull this card, and this was nice to basically feed this hungry monster when it wanted to come in with kicker. But once again, this was not out very long. I mean, everyone is drafting removal, and I just need to be factoring that in more. I need cheaper creature cost on average and more removal. I need to play it that way. That's something I just need to make part of the mentality. While we have it out, Timeless Lotus, this often did get cycled out. There was one game, it was one of my first games where this came out, immediately gets hit with broken wings, and that just sets you behind so much as far as mana that, you know, it's really hard to come back from that. Oh, SHALAI'S Acolyte, forgot to talk about it. We sideboarded in its place, joined forces, just to try and help. I honestly didn't get to use this, so can't really say how it worked, but it was just to get out of, you know, just take out their targets for the broken wings. King Darien. I love King Darien. This is for 3-drop. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. That was always amazing. It really would change the matchups when going into attack or blocking. Really didn't get to use the second ability because it's quite costly, you know, taking up 5 mana. I mean, really that's like a late game play, unless that's the only thing you can do if you're playing an empty hand. I almost got to it, but eventually they wanted Darien out so bad that it took them a while to realize Darien is the source of their problems, and they eventually made Darien the focus of their removal. Necromass, honestly, never drew this card the whole night, so can't really say, but I generally like this card. Actually, no, I did play it once. I have to take it back, and I did get to play it for the discount, and it always feels good whenever these cards are discounted, although it does just come in as a 5/5 Death Touch, but that does make the lineup a little better when they're thinking about how much they want to attack in with. Urg, Spawn of Turg. I like this because this helps with your, you know, filtering through your draws. You know, at the beginning of every upkeep, you get to pick whether or not that card you want goes into the graveyard. And when you're playing with Necromass, this had the double effect of if you're drawing a monster, or if you're drawing a creature that you really wouldn't want at that time, put it in the graveyard and also help discount your Necromass if you knew you had that in hand already. So that was cool. I did like this card, especially for me always feeling land flooded. This was nice. And also, on our next creature, this is the first one I've gotten of these, and I love this card. I played against it last week and lost to it. Urborg Lurgoyf. So it's a 2-drop, and you can kick it for blue or black, and you get to mill 3 cards, and its power is equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. So again, like a double. These cards synchronize really well. Necromass, Urg, Spawn of Turg, and Urborg Repossession. That's why they were included. So honestly, that trio I was happy with. I was not as impressed with the Connoisseur or the Acolyte. Moving on to the secondary creatures, we really had, so going left to right in no particular order, we had the Drawbridge. This was helpful for tapping down creatures to just limit their options, but you had to have the available mana for it, and usually the games may not have been going past mid-game, and I didn't get to use that as often. So it was just acting as a defender more than anything, which isn't exactly what you want it to be doing. This was our pack 1 pick 1, and that was because obviously this is a little bit of an underwhelming card in my opinion. So it's a 2-drop, it's a 2/2 with Enlist, but when you enlist, you get to scry 2. And that's okay. I did it a couple times, and it helped me get through my deck a little quicker. But it does have the really nice effect of you could discard a card and make this indestructible. And that did come into play. It honestly had a passive effect of just not having, not getting blocked because they knew that the discard of card indestructible was coming. So I ended up seeing that dynamic a lot. Benelish Faith Bonder. Figured we want to bring this in just as a filling in our cheap creature niche in the deck, as well as being able to take advantage of some of the higher power levels of these other cards and protect them through use of Enlist. I have not really seen Enlist get used a whole lot this set, but I did do it once or twice. Hexbane Tortoise. Honestly, one other thing with the Enlist is, this is more from Arena, but certain creatures have tapped effects, and Enlist is great for that, because if they're a weaker creature and it doesn't get the effect until you tap it, that's a great way to get into that. Alright, Hexbane Tortoise. This was a 3-drop with Ward of 2 and also had Enlist, so just a beefier version of the Faith Bonder with Ward instead of Vigilance. Phyrexian Warhorse. Wanted that just to help me if I was trying to go wide in certain situations. You get to kick it for 1 and you get that extra 1/1 token that you could sack to make the Warhorse a little stronger. Never did do that. I do like the Battlefly Swarm. I mean, it is quite dynamic. You know, you could be chipping away in the air until they have somebody with flying or reach, but then you could just keep it on the back burner, maintain 1 black mana, and then if they're going to attack in with anything big and beefy, you could throw this in as Death Toucher. So love that. This honestly is for sure I want to say my favorite defender, because Wingmantle Chaplain is more annoying and this card doesn't get as much attention, but I love this card, especially because I play aggro decks on Arena and I love aggro decks, and I put this in my aggro deck now. It just, you can put it down turn 1, turn 2, you're already attacking in for 3 and you're repeating that, and I was able to do that for many of my games, able to get in 2 to 3 hits with this and really giving me a lead with life. Mana Worker, we were playing a lot of different colors and I just wanted the comfort of having some additional fixing as well as potentially an early blocker. So I was happy to include Mana Worker here. Now we're on to the instants and sorceries. So for combat tricks, we had Battle Rage Blessing, and that was nice just to get some creatures out of there. This kind of filled the niche of removal, although it's a little second-handed removal in my opinion. Another Aggressive Sabotage, we talked about that. That one was main deck to begin with. Pilfer, fantastic card. Always love the upset from the opponent, or at least the annoyance that I'm going to pick whatever's in their hand and toss it. And this card, whenever I played it, I was very satisfied with it. Late game, I was a little concerned as far as, are they even going to have anything of value? But I did end up enjoying when I did play that. And for 2, I thought that was great value. Urborg Repossession. This was a great card, especially for, I did have some self-mill in here, I believe. Potentially not. Maybe I did keep out the Soul Tender, but actually I didn't have the Soul Tender. I was looking for it. But for things that they were removing, wanted a good way to get that back. Never did kick this, but I definitely did use this. And I love the fact that you do gain 2 life, and that is not part of the kicked ability. And that seemed to be something that people were always forgetting about. Take Up the Shield, another cantrip. So that with 1/1 counter and indestructible and lifelink. This was really nice for those situations where I may be down on health and throw this on my biggest creature that I'm also going to have block. And if they were actually losing to an even bigger creature, this keeps them on the board. So did enjoy playing that. And Bone Splinters. I had some cheap creatures. I mean, with the Warhorse being able to put down tokens, and the Battlefly, and the Faith Bonder, and the Drawbridge. You know, this I did use to pop some of the bigger creatures. So this was my one true removal. I was really realizing I was not much in the removal, and to my detriment. So for lands, you know, we were basically all over the place. Tap lands were green and white, red and white, black and blue, and we had 3 of the white and black. And then we had the one pain land, full art pain land, honestly. You know, we were mostly black, white with green splash. So this was honestly just a little bit of a guilty selection in my drafting. Moving on. Alright, so now for the things that we didn't include. So the first thing, Broken Wings. I don't main deck this, but I'm going to start to consider it, especially as a source of removal for artifacts as well, if I am in green. I have seen this main deck more, and it hurts when it's getting used against me. Temporary Lockdown, I didn't include this even though I was in white, just because I felt like it was a little deep into white, as well as it would affect me. And I thought that more often than not, I feel like I'm losing to the big, beefy creatures, and this is only affecting creatures with mana value of 2 or less. So it didn't include it, but nice to have for the collection. Urtai's Scorn, this is a great counter spell. I just didn't feel that I was that into blue, and this is a double blue, so we couldn't include it. Enthrall to the Pit, this is one of the later picks. I do like this card because I feel like it really can swing some of the late games, so I ended up having 2 of those. Toxic Abomination, my understanding is this is a really bad card, and if you look at it, I feel like it is a really bad card. I mean, you're paying 2 mana to get a 3/2, sure, but in addition, you also lose 2 life, which I know is the equivalent of like the Phyrexian mana. So you're paying 3 effectively for 3/2, if you want to think about it that way, but don't really see this card getting played too much. Inscribed Tablet, I used to play this a lot, but it is a bit slow. Although I suppose if you are playing, a lot of artifacts don't really get played as a theme here, so I honestly have never seen anyone play Inscribed Tablet. So that was a last card handed to me. Goblin Token, Basic Land, Token, Basic Land, there we go. Or another Faith Bonder. They were just going to be my 3rd Faith Bonder, so I figured I wanted to make room for some other creatures that did more than that, so didn't include that one. Heroic Charge. Double white, so that was my hesitancy, although I really do like the idea of, if I am going wide, that this can give everyone trample if we do kick it. It's an expensive kick, so this is going to be 6 in total to play, but obviously that's a game changer if you are going to kick it. Menegoth Sentry, 4 for a 4/4 with reach. I didn't really feel like I needed this guy who really doesn't do much outside of the reach, so ultimately we went other directions for our 4 drops. So that is all. I definitely learned a lot. I need to be more focused on 1 game condition or maybe 2 win conditions, and I feel like this time around I was a little too spread out. I was seeing if I could take advantage of Domain, but also Flyers, and I had that Timeless Lotus, so I was trying to make that work. And I also knew about the red or the black-white aggro, but I was also playing slow, so I was all over the place. I wanted to try it out, feel it out, and I did. You know, my win percentage was 33% out of the 3 best of 3s. All of the games went to 3, but most of the time it felt like when they were established, they had a better value system than I had, and I was kind of stuck. And I honestly didn't have removal as much as I should have, and I was getting removed left and right. So, notes for next time. Thank you for watching.